Welcome back. We got something a little different for you today. Not working on the buggy. We got a project to work on the Mini X. So as you can see, we've already started the process of disassembling this blade. We have to do some repairs to this blade. So as you can see, one is the hydraulic cylinder that normally goes there that lifts the blade up and down was leaking and needed, like bad, and needed to be repaired. That's since been pulled off. Hydraulics shop has worked on that. We'll show you that a little bit later. It's in the shop already. That's obviously gonna go back on, but before we do that, we're gonna have to take this blade off, because if you can see on the bottom of this blade and the back side of it, you're looking at the back of the blade right now, there is all sorts of damage. So it's torn and ripped in spots. And yeah, that one's all jacked up in the corner there. And on the front side, on the bottom, it's screwed up too. You can't quite tell because of the grass and stuff's in the way. So the first thing we gotta do is take those pins out, and then we're gonna get the tractor over here to pick this thing up. It's obviously way too heavy to carry around. And we're gonna get this moved around to the shop where we can start to work on it. If you wanna see fire and sparks and smoke and all kinds of crazy chaos, then stick around.
Okay, so basically what we have here, if you look at this portion, this piece of metal meets the blade piece, which is now facing the concrete, and they're welded together. So here it's still intact and it's in good shape, but on each end, what has happened is through wear, it's just worn away the weld where this piece of metal met that piece. And instead of fixing it, they just kept using it, and it has peeled this outer portion back and bent the heck out of this actual blade from about here out on each end. So our task is going to be probably beating some of this back into position, adding new metal, straightening these ends out, and getting it straight, so it's actually a working blade that we can depend on.
Yeah, I don't know what they did to mangle this thing, but it is all kinds of just, I mean, this is thick metal.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's just years and years of use and abuse, basically. Yeah, if you keep using this, and especially if you're using this blade to push against hard ground and rocks, yeah, it's just going to peel that metal back. And it's not thin metal, but it's probably only like 3/16 or so.
Yeah, on that portion.
Yeah. The blade is thicker, of course. That's more like 3/8 or at least 1/4 inch, but that's a little bit thinner on the backside. But it's not really intended to do anything except reinforce the blade. But once that weld got worn away and they separated, this just started peeling back. So it's going to take some heat, flame, definitely take the smoke wrench and some new metal and a lot of welding. First we'll do some cleanup though.
We thought we'd get started here by heating up the bottom part of the blade and seeing if we could start to beat that back into shape. So Dad fired up the torch here, and we're just starting to get the bottom of that blade edge hot to start hitting it and bending it. You'll notice that Dad starts to adjust the torch again. Naturally, we get all ready to start this project and get going on this thing, and then, 10 seconds into this, we realize we're pretty much starting to run out of oxygen.
Once I start hitting, we'll have to be careful that it's not going to tip.
Yeah.
Maybe after you take the fire away and I start hitting, maybe hold on to that or something.
We're already running out of oxygen.
Yeah.
We're going to have to break here to go to the welding supply and get a replacement bottle of oxygen. After we got back from the welding supply, though, it was kind of late in the day, and we didn't want to start again on torching and beating and banging just to have to, end the day. So you'll see in the next clip we transition to working on something else. So because of the damage that this thing has, having all that area torn away at the bottom, having lack of support, this blade sort of bent outward through use. As it's oriented here, that would be up. So that you can kind of see here from this angle, the outside portion of the blade is bent upward. So Dad had the idea of maybe seeing if we can't bend a little bit of that back in shape. So we've tried various things here with the bulldozer and the tractor, but obviously, that blade is reinforced with curvature in a way that makes this very hard to bend without a bunch of heat in places and also serious capability in pressing. So this is like the heaviest equipment that we have to do this kind of thing. It might have helped a little bit, but we just kind of ran with it after we tried this. But it makes for some cool video.
Maybe a little bit. About to slip off. Yeah. The only other thing I would say is just put a bunch of heat into it there and then try that. That's probably all we can do if you want to keep trying.
Yeah. The other thing I could try to do is put more out here and then more on that corner, try to bend the corners, separate.
All right, new day. So yesterday you saw there's some clips that we got yesterday. It was mainly just getting it into position and starting the process of working on it, but we quickly found out that we were out of oxygen. So we ran to the
As soon as we lit the torch,
As soon as
basically.
we lit the torch. So had to, a lot of the day yesterday was just going to get another bottle of oxygen. What you saw towards the end of those clips there was Dad had the idea of seeing if we could try to get, the bottom edge of this thing. You can see towards the edge, it's bent outward, on either side. So we were trying to just see if we can get it to bend down into position, but in the absence of having some kind of serious hydraulic press, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. So we're kind of just going to run with what we got. But here's what we're going to be working on today.
Basically, what has happened to these ends is they have, when this reinforcement was worn away and detached, this whole end has bent back a little bit, but in such a way that the top part of it bent less. The bottom part, because that's where all the force is applied, has bent
Twisted.
more.
It's like twisted.
So it's like twisted, yes.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to get back into position because of the curvature of this blade reinforces
That's
it,
reinforcement.
and the
front
top
edge.
curve reinforced edge up there. So we've kind of given up on that idea. We're just going to kind of go with it the way it is. But we've discovered a couple of new problems. One being that we were going to try to bend all this back into position, but this has been in this condition for so long that material has rusted away, the steel up here. So some of it is a lot thinner than it should be. So we're going to have to cut some of this off and then put new metal in.
Yeah,
Also-
because we won't. There's so much that's even missing here. Like I didn't even realize this at first, but it needs to come all the way down and actually attach to this, fill all this in, be boxed in just like this is. So there's a bunch of material here that's just missing that we're going to have to add metal to anyway.
Yeah, and I'm assuming when they built this thing that it was totally enclosed and sealed up. So the inside was not open to the outside. But this has worn away so much that down here, this is totally open. And it's also, I just discovered this morning, it's open over here also. So we're going to have to do a little bit, we're going to have to bend this back and probably cut this off.
Yeah.
And then do some more cleaning on the inside to get the dirt and crud and debris out of there. So when we do fix this thing, we don't leave it open to corroding from the inside out. So it's going to take a little more work than we initially thought, but we're not going to worry too much about straightening these ends, just reinforcing it. And because we're not going to be doing a lot of bulldozing or backfilling with this thing, what I intend to do with it is not trenching, so the blade basically is going to be used for reinforcement and occasional pushing of objects or dirt, but not
We got
used
the dozer,
extensively.
yeah.
Right,
We got the
yeah,
dozer
because
for
I got
that.
the bulldozer for that. So we're going to do our best to get this thing back in serviceable condition, but it's going to take quite a bit. I also noticed that this whole length along here, where this has been attached, the weld and attachment has worn away. So it may take some pressure washing to get all that crud out of there. Also, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but this weld here is cracking up into about there. So we'll have to take care of that, which is no big deal. We'll just over weld that. But the damage is a little bit more extensive than I thought. But it's fixable. It's all steel, so smoke and fire to the rescue.
And time.
Yeah. Yeah, time, effort, work, and but we'll get it. Might need those leather sleeves.
Yeah, I might have to put my jacket on.
This side, we might just grind it because it's still fairly thick.
We're gonna have to deal with that crack either way, but.
Yeah. The other thing we have to do is something here.
So you're thinking.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Armed with our fresh supply of oxygen and a new day, we can resume what we started the other day on getting this blade heated up in spots and seeing if we can't just get some of these flatter portions that have been peeled up just bent back down so we can use as much of the base metal that's actually there.
Okay.
So that was the first time that's ever happened to me, and in the moment I was thinking to myself, well, we probably almost just blew up. But Dad explained to me later what happened there. I think I was getting a little too close to the metal with the tip, and some of the oxygen and fuel was kind of making its way up into the tip a little bit, and it creates a few little minor explosions there. It's not really a good situation that you want to be in, but the torch does have some safeties in there to prevent the explosions from working their way all the way up the hoses. My instinct was to shut the fuel off, and by the time my hands reached the knob, it had stopped. So I kind of just looked at Dad, and he said, you know, fuel off when that happens. I ended up pulling the torch for the rest of this, pulling the torch a little bit further away, and it didn't really do it to us anymore after that.
All right, so here we are, both sides after that step. That's looking way better. And this side, it's actually the first side we worked on. So from it being all peeled back mess, we're in a lot better shape now. I don't know how much of this will get done today, but we'll start shaping a piece of 1/4-inch plate to get in there. And of course prep that whole area and the cracks for welding. So here we are after quick power washing. So all that crud, especially in this crack right here, is all washed out. So that's gonna be much better to get, well, to grind and prepare to weld, and then also to get weldment in there. And then here's what Dad looks like after power washing. Basically, total mess.
Yeah. But that's cool.
Doing a little CAD work here. That's cardboard aided design. I'm planning on kind of making this a little bit big. Like you notice I'm leaving some.
Right.
So we can grind it into final position. And we repeated the same thing on the other side, which is just make a cardboard template here so we can trace out the rough shape of this. And then we'll cut this with a plasma cutter so it's as close to the shape as we need to minimize the amount of fill-in that we have to do with welding. Although it's still pretty big gaps, we still have to fill in a lot.
I feel like I need to preface this in the video with the fact that please, for any of the pipe welders that find this channel somehow, I am no arc welder. If you see my other videos on the channel, I've done a lot of fabrication type welding, MIG welding, TIG welding, but not a whole lot of arc welding, so be gentle. Be gentle, pipe fitters out there. Judgment time.
Not bad.
Go a little slower.
We could turn the heat up a little bit.
That's 75.
You burning through there?
Turn it back down.
Yeah, you got a gap there now, so.
When it's long like this, I find it easier to pencil this, but the problem is when I pencil it, when I let go, it screws me up. So I'm trying to not do that,
Right,
but when it's long, it's hard to get started.
right.
So I'm trying to do it without holding it like that.
What I meant there by penciling it is just, like you saw, like holding it like a pencil. When it's long like that and you're trying to get started, it helps to hold it down the rod so you're not trying to like move this big long thing around and then the rod ends up sticking, as you've seen it happen to me a couple of times. So by holding it like a pencil like that further down the rod, you can stabilize it a little better to get started. But whenever I let go with the pencil grip, it always like wiggles around and screws up my puddle. So I need to figure out like a good way to do that transition.
It got wide in there at a spot, so I just said, and I saw this edge tearing away, so I said, I'll just get down in there for this pass, and then we can cap it if it was too...
Right, yeah, that needs to be filled in there, so.
Yeah, we'll just do a second pass on that.
Yeah,
And then when I get to this, we'll see.
all bets are off, yeah.
I'll just have to feel it out.
Right.
See if I can pull that off. If it blows out, whoop-de-doo, we just grind it and try it again.
Well, yeah, basically what you can do there is you can weld along this side, weld along that side, then go back and weld them together.
If I can't bridge it.
Right.
That's bigger than the diameter of this by probably ×2.
Yes.
Probably once I get to the big part, should I even try to keep the bridge going?
Not really.
Just abandon.
Yeah. Like I say, weld along one, weld along the other, and then connect them.
Okay.
With this kind of repair, there was a lot of big gaps to fill. It took me a little while to get the hang of that with stick welding. We also made some pieces to fill in gaps that were just unreasonably large to fill. That's what Dad's working on here. He's helping me out by, while I'm welding a lot of this up, he's fabricating a piece to go in there.
Yeah, even if that's high, we can probably like grind it down.
Yeah, might need to just grind off a little bit of that in there if we can. Money. So the piece that we're welding it to there, the old existing piece, got worn down and is fairly thin. So it would have been hard to weld without a filler piece in there. So that's why we cut that piece to go in there.
So here we are at the end of the first big welding day. As you can see, it doesn't really qualify as pretty welds, but it'll do the job. This is my side. We decided to have Dad do all the welding on the other side, and then we can compare. Spoiler, his will be better. For this build-up section, I started just stacking beads to get back to a thicker portion of the base metal. A lot of the metal on portions of this was too thin to really weld to without just blowing through. Next up in the morning, we'll start on Dad's side.
Slag's still on there, but yep, Dad's a better stick welder than me.
Where's my
Stripping hammer? Yeah.
Not the prettiest welding, but
Prettier than mine.
I think it'll stay on there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's coming across on the camera, but where a lot of the edge of this like rotted away, rust-wise, we can't really weld directly on that because it just blows out, just blows away. It's too much heat. So we've been making a few little filler pieces to stick in there back to a point where on the base material here where it's thick enough. So that's kind of what you see there. And then we're just laying bead after bead kind of all around in there to build it up and build the material up. And we're just cutting the filler pieces out of the same stock here, which is just 1/4 inch steel, mild steel.
Come on.
Excellent. I'm glad I got you struggling on camera. So it's not just me. That's my hardest part right now, is getting started. Some of the newer machines have like a hot start
Yeah,
where it'll like ramp the amperage way up for like a second.
yeah.
That's a super nice feature, but my machine doesn't have that. So I'll have to try that gap over there again after watching you.
Yeah.
See if I can do it better this time.
Picking up from where I left off, on my side, we have Dad's side and the end of another day. You can see his side is better than mine, especially in that gap filling section. I took some technique mental notes with me into the next day when we started on the underside of this, where there's much bigger gaps. Here's our starting point for the next morning. The blade is now standing upright, and you're looking at what would be the bottom and the back of the blade as it would be sitting on the excavator. Challenging day ahead here with the large gaps to fill, as you can see. Now we're done with the repair portion. We'll pick it up in the morning, moving it back into position and getting it reinstalled on the excavator. Now we're getting it back into position and reinstalled. We both needed to help each other with this pretty much all the way through, so I didn't get a whole lot of different camera shots here. What we're doing here is a lot of just finagling it into position, and then Dad right now is putting the pin in on the left side as you're looking at it. Now he's doing the right side. I'm handing him some shims. There's shims that go on either side. Now I'm just greasing up a few of the grease points to get some extra grease in there. Now we're putting the hydraulic cylinder back in, just putting some grease in there. It installs basically the same way with a couple of large pins, and then the pins are captured on either side with cotter pins. There's also a couple of hydraulic hoses that get installed as well. There it is, all back together. Everything except for cotter pins in the hydraulics. They take ridiculous huge cotter pins that we don't have, so we'll just have to get those later.
And I had to cut the one off, so you got one.
Yeah, maybe I'll drop some footage of that in right here. When we were getting that off, well, when Dad was getting that off, he worked on that on one of my work days.
Success.
Ready to rip, except for the pins.
This one was in here like this before. I could not get any way to beat it out, you know, because you can't get underneath it to swing a hammer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the other way. So if it's ever got to come out again, you can get to the bent over part and possibly beat it out. Yeah, we'll just get a hammer and hammer that one. We got the new one. This one can go this way because you can get on that. It ain't coming out.
All right, that'll do it for this one. Got the blade back in action. Got the cylinder repaired. Got all the bottom of that blade repaired. That was a lot of good stick welding practice for me. I don't do a whole lot of stick welding. I do a lot more fabrication type welding like MIG welding and TIG welding. This project was a little bit different than my normal videos. I'm still between projects right now after finishing the buggy, so I'm anxious to get started on my truck build square body project coming up soon, so that'll be coming, but a little bit longer before I can get started on that. I'm still getting parts and tools and things ready for that. We're also getting into the colder part of the year, so I probably won't be doing a whole lot more with the buggy this season, but we're going to be getting prepped to take that to some off-road parks in the spring. So that'll be pretty fun. But if you want to see the fabrication of the next project, stick around. That's going to be starting here pretty soon. Anyway, thanks for watching.